let's say, first of all, it is a job,
Mm-hmm.
but it will be the method used to protect, let's say, to protect computer, to protect, let's say, um, application.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for the company. Let's say that.
Right, right. Okay. So cybersecurity in a nutshell, right, is basically securing your online presence as a company, as well as keeping your organization safe from data breaches. So how
Okay.
we can define it properly is the real version is prevention, detection, incidents response, governance, risk management, and recovery. There are six different disciplines, six different career paths that you can take in today's world, right? So whether you end up as a SOC analyst watching alerts and scrolling by 2 a.m., or if you're getting into penetration testing, or if you're getting into GRC, if you're getting into security engineering, all of these job roles come under one rule book, which is cyber security, right? So is that clear? Do you have any questions on the
Yeah, it is
definition?
clear.
Okay. Okay. All right. So here's why cybersecurity matters in an organization, right? Here's why this program even exists, right? Every organization today is standing in a landscape with 5 kinds of exposure. Okay. So they are being exposed to multiple facets. So number one is data breaches. There are unauthorized access to sensitive data of a company.
Yeah.
So what data breaches are? They are unauthorized access to sensitive data of a company, right? The second way of exposure is ransomware. So ransomware is when someone encrypts your system and demands payment to unlock them. So what that is basically your computer gets locked by a hacker. It's bricked, you can't use it, and it has a number that you need to call, and you call that number, and the hacker says, pay me this amount of money, then I will unlock your computer for you. That is ransomware, right? And there's a third way of breach is called phishing. So phishing is when deception, when people, hackers, deceive you through emails designed to steal your credentials. So they are not hacking, they are convincing you to give up information by yourself, right? And also the next one is insider threats. So there are risks from people you already trust in your organization with the access of passwords and credentials who may be a liability to your company. And the next one is supply chain attacks. What that is basically this is for companies dealing with suppliers, clients, and if they have supply chain related job roles or supply chain related services that they provide, like products or services as well, right? An adversary, one of your opponents, one of your competitors in the industry, they won't attack you directly, right? They will go to your vendor who you already trust, and they will walk in through that avenue through your vendor who you didn't even know would do this to you.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah, I understand. Yeah.
Okay, okay. So, have you ever gotten a phishing email in your life, like a
Yeah.
scamming email?
Yeah. I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it's not just you, right? There are Fortune 500 companies getting hit with phishing emails, and there are trained experts who are being deceived by phishing emails as well. So this is very common in the world right now, and hackers and people using the internet for bad are also getting better in this day and age, right? So it's very important that people using the internet for good also have to be of that caliber. They also have to have that skills. Okay.
Yeah. I have a question.
Yes.
Yeah, it will be possible for me to have, I mean, this material.
Yes. I will send it to you after the lesson. I will
Let's like
send
it.
you the slide deck, and I will send you the recording of this class as well.
Okay. But we don't have, let's say, the portal where I can go to visualize, I mean, the courses.
Yes, there is a portal. I will say the portal is a Google Drive where I will be uploading the lessons and the slide decks, where it will be a full recording of the class. There is no cuts in between, so you can look at the full recording without any problem.
Okay.
Okay, and I will
Go ahead.
send you. I have already sent the structure, the course structure in the WhatsApp group, right? So that's the curriculum that you will be following throughout this
Okay.
class. So you can go to that curriculum and see the next lesson what you'll be studying.
Okay.
Okay,
Great.
right. So this is a very important structure of cybersecurity. This is called this diagram is called the CIA Triad. Right? Write this down. It's called the CIA Triad. TRIAD. Okay. So the CIA Triad is basically C is for confidentiality, I is for integrity, A is for availability. So these are the three pillars of cybersecurity, of a good cybersecurity system, right? So when you're working as a cybersecurity professional in an industry, in a company, every security decision you will make maps back to one of these three principles, right? The CIA triad. Confidentiality is protecting information from unauthorized access. Okay, that is C. Integrity is making sure data stays accurate and untampered, right? Accurate data without tamper. That is integrity. Availability is keeping systems accessible when people actually need them. Whenever you need information, it has to be accessible and available. C is for confidentiality, I is for integrity, A is for availability, right? So, for example, here's, you can take a hospital, for example, right? So, in a hospital, patient records need to be confidential.
Protected. Yeah.
Patient records need to be confidential, right? Only authorized staff can be able to view them. That is confidentiality. And they need integrity. Nobody can quietly alter a dosage in a chart, right? It's going to be catastrophic. You have to have the proper dosage, the proper information about the patient to be able to treat them properly. And you need availability. The information during an emergency situation, let's say you are already having your information in a hospital, you have an emergency heart attack, you go to the hospital and they are trying to get some information from you from the start, right? You have to have that information in the hospital even at 3 a.m., 4 a.m. If you have an emergency, it has to be instantly available for the hospital staff to be viewing. That is availability at all times. So, what aspect of this do you think is very important, the most important? Do you think confidentiality is important? Do you think integrity is important? Or do you think availability is important? Which one is most important out of these three?
Okay. I can say that the three of them are very important, but confidentiality should be more important, I think.
Okay, right. So they constantly trade off against each other, right? You all three of these things are very important, all
Important,
right?
yeah.
Without one of these pillars, if you have just the two of them, it's not going to be a good impact,
Yeah.
right? You always have to have all three of this. If the information is confidential and it is the correct information, it has integrity, but if it's not available, there's no use in it. if the information is available to everybody and it's not confidential, but it's accurate information and it's available, that's also not going to work. And if it's confidential information, but it's the wrong information and it's available all the time, it's also not going to work. Okay, so this is the three pillars of cyber security. It's very, very essential for you to understand that these three will be defining your career in cybersecurity in the future. Okay. So there are certain terminologies that you will be hearing throughout the program, throughout the next 16 weeks, and even when you start working, there are certain terminologies that you'll be hearing every single day, day in, day out, right? 5 of them are very, very important. Okay. And how you see how they chain together, how they connect together is basically half of cybersecurity vocabulary, right? The first one is asset, right? What do you think an asset is for a company?
Yeah. For the company, an asset could be a bit all we have as computers, data,
Yeah.
and all this, the server also.
Yeah. It could be anything tangible or intangible, anything valuable that needs protecting, right? So that is called an asset for a company. The second one is threat. What do you think a threat can be classified as for a company?
Say it again.
What is a threat for a company?
Yeah, threat could be let's say the threat is from hackers, is from let's say people who wants to enter our system,
Yes.
to
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
try to have access
Right.
wrongly, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah. So as a whole, right, you can classify it. There are multiple threats. Okay. But as a whole, you can classify all of them as anything that can cause harm, right? Anything that can cause harm to the company's processes or basically the company is a threat. What is a vulnerability?
Yeah, the vulnerability is the, let's say, the capacity to be to and I mean a scammer, for instance, a scammer or someone else to enter our system.
Yes. Okay. Yes, definitely. So a vulnerability is basically a weakness that someone
Yeah.
can exploit, right? A weakness in the system that someone can exploit, right? So what is a risk?
The risk could be a percentage of how our company is vulnerable, I think.
Yes, yes. Basically, you can say it's the likelihood that damage can
Yeah.
occur,
Okay.
right? How likely it is that the threat can exploit the vulnerability and damage the asset, right? So, what is control?
Yeah, control could be the action we take to I mean to prevent the raise, to prevent vulnerability, to prevent threat to to appear in our company, I think.
So, a control is basically the way to stop the threat from exploiting the vulnerability and making damage to the asset. It's a safeguard that reduces the likelihood of risk. Okay, so here's the chain in order, right? A threat exploits a vulnerability which impacts an asset, which creates risk, right? So, for an example, a phishing email is the threat, right? An untrained employee is the vulnerability, and the password or the credentials that they hand over to the hacker are the asset, right? The resulting data breach is the risk that's now been created. Okay, a control is something as simple as security awareness training, which can break the chain before it completes. So it's a complete chain of actions that take place within this terminology vocabulary, right? So can you think of a vulnerability in your own digital life right now? What do you think is a vulnerability in your life right now?
Can you repeat the question?
Can you think of a vulnerability in your home network?
Yes, I can think so.
What do you think that is? All right, for an example, right? Having a weak password as your Wi-Fi password is a vulnerability, right? At home, most people don't change their passwords regularly, and they have a short password like John123, right? Anyone can guess these passwords very easily. Okay,
Yeah.
so if you want, you can go online and check the strength of your passwords and how long it will take a hacker to hack your password. So, for an example, if you have your name and 123, it will take a hacker 2 days to hack your password, to guess your password, right? If you have something complex like John at 1998 exclamation mark, right? These are complex passwords with multiple characters. This will take, can you guess how long this will take the hacker to guess?
2 months.
It will take thousands of years for a hacking
Wow.
system to guess this type of passwords,
Okay.
right? So it's not very easy to guess these types of passwords with exclamation marks, with special characters. That is why most of your password managers these days, most of the, let's say for example, your email, if you have a Gmail account, your Gmail will ask you to create a password with a special character, right? Otherwise it
Okay.
won't allow you to create that password, right? So most people can name one or two vulnerabilities in your own life. You can think of it very simply. So vulnerabilities aren't toxic; they're everywhere, included in your own life, right? So types of security threats. So we went over this very briefly before. So there are 5 categories of threats. Okay, number one is malware, right? Malware is a software that hackers create to deal damage or steal information in your systems, in your networks. So these can be categorized into viruses, worms, Trojanware, spyware. These are all designed to damage or infiltrate a system, right? They can be sent through malicious links. They can be sent through USB drive. They can be sent through your network even. These are called malware. They're special softwares created to deal damage to your computer or your system. Second type of category of threat is phishing. Phishing is deceptive messages engineered to steal credentials or deliver malware. So, this is a very sophisticated way for hackers to gain access to your systems. This is called social engineering, right? So, hackers would send you an email from a different email address looking like your manager, looking like your boss. Makes sense? So let's say your boss's email goes as henry@gmail.com. They will have a similar email where it's henry dot or henry1 at gmail.com. So if you are not careful, you will read it as Henry. Okay, your boss is replying to you. He's asking for your credentials, and they will send an email where it's asking for your credentials, your email address, and your password, and your login details. And you will be thinking, okay, this is my boss. Okay, let's send him the password and email. And once you send that email to the hacker, now he has access to your credentials. So this is basically convincing people through social engineering to give up their own credentials. Okay. So business emails compromise is the version currently draining the most money out of companies, right? Most companies invest very high amounts of budget towards cybersecurity training to their employees, right? Because it doesn't even need malware, right? You don't need a software in the email. Just a convincing email would be enough for an untrained employee to send out the password to the hacker. Make sense?
Yeah.
Right. So third one is ransomware, right? So there was a special ransomware called WannaCry, right? So there were hackers who made a ransomware called WannaCry alone, which locked multiple hospitals, shipping companies, and government agencies recently in 2010s 2014 era, and they were locked out of their own systems through ransomware attacks, right? This is from one exploited vulnerability of these hospitals and shipping companies and government agencies, right? So they had locked the system, asked for multiple millions of money to unlock their systems, right? So this was an insider threat that happened through ransomware. But coming to insider threats, it's a whole different category. So insider threats are risks from employees or trusted users who already have legitimate access, which makes them far harder to catch compared to an outsider, right? So insider threats may be, for example, if there's an employee who is unhappy about the company, and if there's an employee who's got a better offer or from a competitor of your company, they are vulnerabilities as well. They can log into your system legitimately because they already have credentials. They can take your information, they can share it with your competitor. That is called insider threat. It's the hardest to catch out of all of these threats.
Sorry, 1 minute. Please, maman, tu peux brancher le courant pour moi. Si tu peux, faut appeler quelqu'un. Ah, appelle. Brancher pour moi. Hold on, please. My computer is. Je sais pas. Oh, sorry, my computer was. Yeah, I tried to plug it. Okay,
No worries. Yeah, that's okay. Right. So insider threats are threats from legitimate employees who are working for malicious intent, with malicious intent. Okay. So, an advanced persistent threats are long term, patient, targeted intrusions by sophisticated competitors or adversaries, right? So, for example, SolarWinds was a company which sat inside networks for months before anyone noticed. Right? SolarWinds was a malware that sat in the systems of companies for months without being caught, right? So the uncomfortable truth with most of these things is most real breaches aren't just one of these. There are several of these attacks combined together, right? If there is a hacker looking to intrude your company, looking to do deal damage to your company, he won't just think about phishing. They will also try to send in malware. They will also try to get in some ransomware. They will also try to exploit insider threats in your company as well, right? They will be usually stacked together. A phishing email delivers malware. The malware gives an outsider insider level access, and from there it behaves like an APT, right? So, which one of these five do you think is most common in your industry right now, in your government agency? What do you think is most common as a threat?
Uh,
Is it
malware.
malware? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So most of the times your agencies are dealing with malware, right? Okay. Okay. So for example, right, SOC analyst, if you're going to work as a SOC analyst in cybersecurity, you will be detecting these threats in real time. You will be getting the real time alerts that something is wrong. There's a red flag. Take a look at it. That is what your job will be if you are a SOC analyst, if you're going to work as a SOC analyst. And if you're going to work as a penetration tester, you will be getting paid to simulate one of these attacks by the company, to simulate and see any bottlenecks, see any vulnerabilities in your company, right? So, for example, if you're a red teamer, if you're a penetration tester, you will be sending phishing emails to your own employees to see if they are getting used, if they are sending the information to that email, right? So you need to figure out the vulnerabilities before the actual hackers figure it out. Okay, so that is what a penetration tester would be doing. And as a GRC analyst, you will be assessing how much risk each one of these vulnerabilities or threats pose to your company. As a GRC analyst, you will be calculating all of these threats in your company using certain tools to see which one of these are happening in your company the highest and how you can mitigate them from happening in the future. You will be making certain policies, you will be making certain procedures, certain standards of procedures for your employees, so you reduce the risk of these threats exploiting your vulnerabilities. Make sense? So we'll take a small break now. Do you have any questions?
That's okay.
Okay, all good as of now. All the terminologies are fine.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. So we'll go to the understanding the cyber attack life cycle, right? So in an industry, in a company even, attackers don't just show up and start stealing data, right? They follow a structured progression, right? This model lines up with the industry standard MITRE attack framework, right? So it's called the meter attack framework, and there are 5 stages in this framework, right? So write this down. It's called MITRE attack framework. There are 5 stages. Stage number 1 is recon. The attacker researches you, often just from your own LinkedIn profile or your company website. They research you, what type of company you are, how much money they can exploit from you. That is recon. And initial access is the next stage. They get a foothold. They usually get in through a phishing email, or basically they exploit a vulnerability. They check what is the weakest link, how they can get in to your company through initial access. That's the first stage, that they test out any vulnerabilities. Okay, that's the second stage of this progression, attack lifestyle. And the third one is privilege escalation. So, what privilege escalation is, they exploit the vulnerability to upgrade from a regular user to an administrator, right? So, do you know what the difference between a regular user and an administration level user is?
Yeah. The regular user. I mean, we can say the common user in the company,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, the the administrator should could be a. I mean, someone maybe in the the IT services maybe.
Right. So very simply, right, even in your own computer, right, you have an administrator user who is the main user, who has the access, who is the
Mhm.
main user who will enter the password. So if you're even downloading an application on your computer, and when you click on install, it will ask for the administrator access. You will have to click yes or no. That is the person with the authority to access this information. That's the administrator level user. The common user has some authorities. He can use certain aspects of the computer or the network, but cannot use the higher level echelons. Right? There are certain restrictions for common level users, right? So the hackers, after they recon you, after they gain initial access, the next step would be to get their administrator level privileges, right? So after they get administrator level privileges, they do something called a lateral movement. They move from one compromised machine towards the domain controller, the crown jewels of the network, right? They go from one computer to the whole network, right? They go from one machine to another machine, and through the Ethernet cables, through the network, they capture the whole network, right? And then they do something called data exfiltration, right? They copy out the customer database and often try to quietly destroy the evidence also on their way out. So they do data exfiltration. They will copy all of your data, have it saved somewhere in their computer, and leave without a trace and delete all the logs of them in the data center as well. Right. So, for example, someone researches your company on LinkedIn, okay, and then sends your finance team a convincing phishing email. That's step two. Uses a known vulnerability to grab admin rights, right? Administration rights, and then pivots to the domain controller, right? And walks out with your customer data. So defenders can interrupt this chain at any single stage and stop the entire attack. If you stop it after the recon level and stop the person, the attacker, from gaining initial access, they can't exfiltrate your data. If you stop it at privilege escalation, they still can't exfiltrate your data. If you stop it at lateral movement, even, they still can't exfiltrate your data. So there are certain steps that even the hacker needs to take, and the cybersecurity agent in the company can stop this process at any point, right? So there are certain leeways, there are certain things that you need to keep in mind where you will be favored in your job as well, right? So at which of these stages do you think an attack is easiest to stop?
The initial access.
Yes, definitely. So earlier is almost always the better rather than later, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
for example, SOC analyst watch for these stages happening live, right? So in a system, there are, right now in this digital age, there are certain softwares, obviously, that SOC analysts use to capture, to catch these hackers in the act, right? So if you have initial access gained by someone outside of your company, there will be an alert as a SOC analyst, as and your job is to analyze this alert and see what's happening, and actually oversee what's happening and try to stop that attack. That is your job as a SOC analyst, right? So threat hunters go looking for them proactively. Basically, any red teamer, any penetration tester will try to actually do this as a hacker to see where the vulnerabilities stand. Okay. So any question in this progression of attack lifestyle?
It's okay. Yeah, it's okay.
Okay. All right. So this is stage. where we say security controls and how organizations reduce risk. So there are multiple ways where you can reduce the risk of your information or your assets being exploited by the threats. Okay, so there are three ways where, or there are three controls, security controls that help you do this as a cybersecurity professional. There are preventive controls, there are detective controls, and there are corrective controls. So what these are? Preventive, as in the name, right? They stop attacks before they succeed. Preventive, right? This is like the vaccines that you get to prevent you from actually getting sick. Okay, so these are firewalls and multi-factor authentications and access control policies, and even encryption. So access control policies on a high level is basically like passwords and who can access what, like administrator rights. Okay, encryption is encrypting data from easy to understand English to encrypted version of these words. So for example, if you put in type in a word called governance in plain English and you encrypt it, it's going to be hard for you to read. It's going to be just symbols and numbers, right? And you have to use a de-encryption tool for you to get that encrypted data back to easy to read format. Okay, so these are preventive controls where an organization uses to reduce the risk. And the second one is detective controls. So these controls will identify attacks that are currently happening, right? So these will identify attacks that are currently happening. Like let's say this is for SOC analysts, basically. If there is an intrusion currently happening, you will get an alert and you will proactively try to stop that action from taking place, right? Like intrusion detection systems, log monitoring systems, and security audits that are systematically done every other week, right? And there are certain controls called corrective controls, right? So this is for recovery after an incident has happened. All right. So, for example, what these would be like are backups and disaster recovery systems. So, whatever data you currently have, you have to back it up on a hard drive or in the cloud. So, there are certain differences that you will be learning down the line on which one is better and which one is more reliable. We will come to that in detail down the line. But right now, on a high level, there are backups you need to have on hard copies and also soft copies, which can be on the cloud or on hard drive terminals, right? And you'll have incident response plans. As a GRC consultant, you will have incident response plans. So if an incident happens, what are the next steps you would take to prevent this from happening in the future? And how can you back up your systems and get back up and running within the smallest time frame? That is incident response plans. You need to have a plan on what action to take after an incident has happened. And system restoration is to restore all the damaged systems within a time frame of time. Make sense? Right. So, for example, in a bank, right, guards and walls are preventative. Security guards and money walls, bank walls are preventative controls. Cameras and alarms are detective controls, right? So when someone wants to steal money, there are cameras who are capturing it, and there are alarms who will alert the necessary people to prevent the heist being happening, right? And corrective controls are insurance and recovery procedures are basically examples of corrective controls for banks, right? So a bank with only a vault and no cameras won't know it's been robbed until the safe is already empty. All right. And bank with only cameras and no vault will be able to watch it on tape in perfect clarity as someone walks in and out with all the cash. And you need all three of these to work together to have a strong risk management system in your company. Okay, all three of these have to be systematically approached in your company. All three of these have to be systematically there, set up in your company for your company to be safe from attacks. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So, companies use something called cybersecurity frameworks and standards of procedure. Standards, right? So, if controls are the individual safeguards, frameworks are the blueprint that organizations and organizes all of them into an actual program, right? And a framework is not a checklist you complete once the file is away. It's basically an ongoing program, right? So in cybersecurity, there are three frameworks that you'll be hearing constantly, right? First one is NIST, cybersecurity framework, which has 5 functions: identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover. This is widely adopted by US organizations. Second one is ISO 27001. It's International Standards of Operation 27001. It's an international standard for information security management systems, ISMS, right? So this is another framework that companies use to secure their information. CIS controls is called, and it has 18 prioritized best practices for defending against common attacks like phishing and other attacks that we learned about previously. Okay, so these three frameworks are very common, and these you will be studying them separately down the line as well. So this is very high level. You just look at it and get an understanding of what these frameworks are. NIST is a cybersecurity framework that is used by US organizations specifically. ISO 27001 is an information security management system standard that is used internationally. CIS controls is a packaged version of 18 prioritized best practices for defending against common attacks internationally. Okay. So there are frameworks that you will be learning down the line separately, and there are certain cybersecurity career roles that you can aspire to be. There are multiple careers that you can take. Cybersecurity is not just hacking and preventing hacks and stuff like that. There are certain ways that you can get employed in a company under the cybersecurity umbrella. There are a few of them that we can prepare you for. Number one is SOC analyst. A SOC analyst basically monitors and responds to security events in real time. You will be the security camera of a company. Understood? That is number one. Security engineer, you have to have some more technical background, but as a security engineer, you will design and build the security infrastructure in a company. This is the firewalls, this is the specific antiviruses that you might have in your own company, custom made. Those are the type of security engineer work that you will be doing if you pick the role of a security engineer. Okay. Third one is a penetration tester. Like I said before, you simulate the attacks like the hacker to find vulnerabilities. Okay. And the fourth one is a GRC analyst. As a GRC analyst, this is the most common and the most easiest way for you to get employed as a cybersecurity in cybersecurity in a company. GRC analysts manage risk, compliance, and governance. Right? They make the policies, and after an incident happens, they do the analysis of the whole situation to prevent it from happening in the future. That is what a GRC analyst does. And the fifth one is cloud security analyst. They protect the cloud environments and configurations. This is also a bit more technical. So cloud is, what that is basically an information cloud with all of your information and data on a software, or basically available for you offline as well in case of an incident. Make sense?
Yeah.
So which one of these five are you planning to get into, John? What do you think is something that you would like to do?
GRC analyst.
Right. Okay. So GRC is something that is easier for you to get into, number one, and it's easier for you to study and get certified for. And we have the highest rate of success rate of finding people jobs as a GRC analyst compared to any one of these. Second one is SOC analyst. Third one is penetration tester. Fourth one is security engineer. Fifth one is cloud security analyst. So we have a higher success rate in finding a job in GRC as well. Okay. So there are certain things that we will touch base on as a GRC analyst role down the line. You can specialize as a GRC analyst with our program down the line as well. And in future, we can get you through to multiple roles as well. So I'll give you the overview of the program and the timetable. So the program is for 16 weeks. All right. So since you started today, you can count the next 16 weeks as the timeline for your transition. And after the 6th week of the program, after you complete close to 2 months, you will be starting a internship. You'll be working for an actual company, non-paid. You'll be working for them as a contractor, as a private contractor. So we are giving you an employment as well, private contractor. And at the end of that will be for 6 weeks as well. You'll be studying and working simultaneously at the same time for 6 weeks. And in this internship, you'll be gaining real world experience, real projects, and you'll be able to get experience from companies like Deloitte, companies like Visa. There are multiple 6-figure or maybe even billion-dollar companies that we can get you internships with, also doing certain projects by yourself as well. So this particular internship is very important. We have 8 companies that we are currently working with, and this internship is for 6 weeks. After you're done with it, you get a certification, a job. It's a service letter of sorts, right? You get a service letter where you are working for this company as a private contractor. Once you're done with it, we will set it up in your resume, and you have a portfolio of actual projects that you have done as a cybersecurity analyst or a GRC consultant. So you're not starting from the bottom like everybody else. You are starting one step ahead of other people who are looking to land a job, right? Because most people in the industry who are newbies, who are looking to get into the industry, get their foot in the door, they have the knowledge, they have the certifications only. They don't have work experience, right? So with our program, you get actual work experience and on paper, as well as really knowing how to do the job. And after 12 weeks of the program, after you study everything, after you're ready with the certifications also, we have a 4-week job camp where we put you through our job camp, where we help you apply to 300 companies. You will be applying to 200, we'll be applying to 300. So together it'll be 500 companies applied for within 1 month. Out of the 500 applications that we apply to collectively, you can expect anywhere between 10 to 20 interviews within the next 3 months, right? After you complete the program. Okay. So totally within the next 6 months, within the next 4 to 6 months, you will have a job. So that is given that you attend all the lessons and you give us the support as well. And we will try to work with you at any given point in time. We'll try to figure out the proper timetable for you as well. Just follow the instructions. If you have any questions, you can WhatsApp me anytime, call me anytime. And Let me know if you have any questions. All right. So, any questions on today's lesson, man?
That's okay. It's
Okay.
okay.
Are you clear about the structure of the program?
That's clear for me.
Okay. All right. Excellent. So I'll share you all the details and all the details of the payment structure as well, and we'll have some new links for you to do the subsequent following payments. That's down the line. We'll forget about it for now. I'll give you access to 2 Google Drives. One is for lessons that are already done in your batch. So there are multiple lessons already done, and other lecturers have also covered certain lessons. So you can go into that Google Drive, see all of the recordings there. And also, I'll share you a separate Google Drive that is your lessons where you study with me. Okay,
Okay.
that is separate, and you have 2 Google Drives, and also you're in a WhatsApp group already where all the details, all the links for you to learn, get more exposure. Whatever links that we share will be on the WhatsApp group. All right.
Okay.
Awesome. So I'll see you tomorrow at 11 a.m. Okay. I'll send
Okay.
you the link to WhatsApp.
Okay. No problem. Thank
Okay.
you.
Awesome, man. All right. Anything
Yeah.
else that we need to cover before I hop off? No? All good?
It's okay. Yeah.
All right. Awesome then. Have a good
That's it.
day. Talk to you
You too.
tomorrow. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.